Okay, good morning, everybody. So we talked about EC2 in the previous session. We created a couple of EC2 instances, and I have one EC2 instance running here. So when you create an EC2 instance, as you know, there is a compute side of it. You know, you have your processor, motherboard, and all, and you have on the other side, you have the hard disk. So hard disk that's attached to your computer, pretty much your laptop, right? You have your hard disk attached to your compute. So the hard disk that's attached to your EC2 instance is called EBS, Elastic Block Store. It's a block store. It's not an object store. S3 is an object store. That's where you can store your pictures. And of course, S3 exposes as a REST, the REST endpoints for you to call from anywhere. Okay. So this one is an object store. This is where you can install your operating system. Okay, this is where you will install your operating system, and this is where you can store your files, etc. So when you launch an instance, let's go ahead and launch an instance. I'm taking a Linux 2 AMI, general purpose, free eligible, and one instance. All this networking is pretty much same. If you want hibernate behavior, you can pick this up. This is okay. So add storage, see here. So this is where you are attaching your hard disk to the EC2 instance. So it's 8 gig, size is 8 gig. So you are attaching an 8 gig hard disk to your EC2 instance, okay? And this one is called a root volume. So root volume is where your operating system is installed. So what is my operating system here? Linux 2. It's Amazon Linux 2. Okay. So we have selected that in step 1. This whole machine image is Amazon Linux 2 AMI. AMI stands for Amazon Machine Image. That comes with certain things. Okay. So let's say, let me not go there yet. Let me not go to AMI. So let's stick to this point. Okay. So this is your root device. Okay. It's attached here, /devxvda. That's your device point. And this is 8 gig. And take a look at this one. This is a general purpose SSD. So we will talk about the difference between these hard disk types. So you have your general purpose SSD that works for most of your use cases. You have your provisioned IOPS. This is your heavy read writes, something like your database instances. This is great for that. Magnetic is a standard one that's slow. This is a kind of a previous generation volume. Okay, so and I will show you. You can change this volume type on the fly also. That's the beauty there. And these many IOPS. So this is the take a look at this one. So baseline is the baseline is 3 IOPS per gig, and a minimum of 100 IOPS, and the burstable up to 3000 IOPS. IOPS stands for input output per second. Okay, and take a look at this one, delete on termination. So if this checkbox is on here, this volume, this root volume, meaning this hard disk where operating system is installed, will be deleted upon termination. When your EC2 instance is terminated, your volume will be deleted. That's what it means. If I take this out, even though you terminate your EC2 instance, your volume will not be deleted. Now, this one is encryption. So do you want to encrypt your hard disk? So there is something called encryption at rest. Okay, so when your data is stored on our hard disk, is it encrypted? Well, by default, your root device, this one is called root device volume or root volume. This one, by default, it is not encrypted, but you can definitely encrypt it. See, this one is saying if I select this one, it will be encrypted, meaning the data, even if somebody gets hold on to your hard disk, okay, they will not be able to read it. It will be encrypted. Okay, the data will be in cryptic format, and you will not be able to read it. So you can encrypt it if you want to. Okay, I would like to turn on the encryption and delete on termination. So I want you to pay attention to this one. And then also, let's take a look at, I'm not adding any tags yet. Yeah, configure security group. I'm creating a web DMZ. So, oh, I'm in Northern Virginia now. I see. Let me go back. Actually, I'll go back. That's fine, I think. Web servers, yeah. I'm selecting web server security group, review and launch. Let's take a look at this one here. This is a T2 micro, instance details. There is no preference. So the default subnet in any availability zone. So let's find out what availability zone this EC2 instance will be created. This is a 8 gig. It's a root device volume, and this is attached at the dev xvda. This is your volume type GP2, general purpose SSD. So general purpose SSD has been attached, that has 8 gig store on my, that's fine. Let's proceed. I'm in Northern Virginia. I did not realize, not a big deal. Okay. So it's coming up, right? So let's come down and let's go to here, Elastic Block Store, EBS. Go to volumes here. Okay. So this is our volume. So this 8 gig GP2 general purpose, it's getting created here. Okay. Let's find out first. Let's go back to EC2 dashboard, running instances. Okay. And it's still initialized. This is our new one. So I'll call this as my new one. Let's call it new one. Okay. So let's find out. This is happening in US East 1E. So I want you to pay attention to this one. US East 1E. So there are 6 availability zones within Northern Virginia. So this is created in US East 1E. Now let's go down to volumes. Look at this one. This one has been created on May 23rd, US East 1E. So this is our root device volume. This is 8 gig. This is where our operating system has been installed. I'm calling this as a root volume. The reason it's a root is because that's where operating system is installed. Okay. And understand, pay attention to this one. So your volume, your hard disk is also in the same availability zone. Your EC2 instance is created in US East 1E, and your volume is also created in US East 1E. So it probably makes sense, right? Your compute and your hard disk, you want to have it in the same availability zone. You want to have them as closely as possible. Understand? You want to have them as closely as possible. So you don't want to have your hard disk in your hard disk in a different city and your compute in a different city, and then you want to install your operating system and an EBS volume. that you want to attach it. So it doesn't make sense, right? So that's why your EBS volume will always be in the same availability zone as your EC2 instance. I want you to understand that. That's a very important point for the exam. So now what we will do is we can go ahead and let's create one more hard disk. Let's create one more EBS volume. We can do that. And then let's attach that EBS volume to our EC2 instance. Make sense? So let's go ahead and create a new volume. So you can go to volumes here. Let's create a new volume here. Okay, so volume types. So do you want a general purpose SSD or what do you want? Take a look at this one. This is a general purpose SSD. This is a provisioned IOPS SSD. Provisioned IOPS is it's an expensive one, but it gives you a lot of read rates, lot of IOPS, input output per second. Okay, and then cold HDD hard disk drive. This is a kind of a general purpose hard disk drive, and then this is a magnetic. Okay, this is like a previous generation hard disk drive, and the throughput optimized HDD. This is a hard disk drive. These two are kind of cheaper, but this is a previous generation one. You can select that one also. It's for even less, much cheaper one. This throughput optimized HDD is probably good for data warehousing needs, your business intelligence needs, if you're doing something like that. But so these are your types. Okay, your general purpose provisioned IOPS is good for your database read writes. So cold HDD is cheaper. Your hard disk drive, it's not an SSD. And your throughput optimized is you can do a lot of throughput there. Good for reporting, BI tools, any of that. Okay, magnetic is a previous generation one. So we talked about it. So I'm creating a volume with 100 gig. Yeah, I can do that. And take a look at the IOPS. Because your general purpose SSD, let's go to provisioned IOPS. I selected provisioned IOPS. See this one, maximum is 64,000 IOPS, 64,000 input outputs per second, provisioned IOPS. Okay, it's an expensive one. You want to do it for heavy read intensive or write intensive ones. Database, perfect example. Okay, now I'm creating an additional volume in, let's say, US East 1A. I know our EC2 instance is in US East 1E, but I'll go ahead and create in US East 1A, and then no snapshot. Let's go ahead and create a volume. Okay, so my volume in 1A. Okay, my volume in 1A. Now a new hard disk has been created. Like your desktop can have several hard disks attached to this one, right? That's all it is here. So we created a new volume here. It's 100 gig. It's a general purpose SSD. Let's go ahead and try to attach this guy to our EC2 instance. See this one, if you look at the status here, this volume is attached to something. It's in use. This volume is attached to something, but this guy, it's available, but it is not in use, meaning it is not attached to anything. This guy is in US East 1A. So sure, let's go ahead and try to attach volume to one of the EC2 instances that we have. And select. It's saying no matching running or stopped instances were found in availability zone US East 1A. So the point I'm trying to show here is that you will not be able to attach an EBS volume from a different availability zone to an EC2 instance. Your EC2 instance and EBS volume must be in the same availability zone. That's why I did all of this drama. You cannot do that. So what we'll do is, let's create one more volume. And this time, let's go ahead and create one US East 1E. General purpose SSD, sure, no problem. And let's create it. And this one I'll call it my volume. And this is an additional volume, okay? This is an additional volume, meaning it's not the root volume. The root volume is where your operating system is installed. Okay, we already have that. And by the way, the root volume, you must have root volume for your EC2 instance because you need operating system. Okay, so that's already attached. So now we are trying to attach one more volume to our EC2 instance. So this is, now let's go to actions, attach volume. Now let's see this one, new one. So this is our machine, new one. Just now we provision any EC2 instance, right? It is running. Let's attach that guy. And then it goes into this, /dev/sdf. I will show you. It goes into that device. That's the device name for attachment. I will show you in a minute. Okay. Let's attach. Now status will change it to in use now. See this one? And now we did not do anything about the, we did not do anything about this my volume in 1A, right? This is available, but it's not in use, meaning this is not attached to any EC2 instance. So I'll go ahead and create it. I'll go ahead and delete it. Let it be done. Let it be done. Okay, so I'll only select this one and then delete volume. So this will be deleted. My previous, I made a point here, right? You will not be able to attach an EBS volume that's in a different availability zone to an EC2 instance. They both must be in the same availability zone. Beautiful. So I made a point and you got that. Now what we'll do is let's log into this EC2 instance. The new one, let's log into this EC2 instance. Go here, connect. Let's see. Wonderful. I'm logged into my EC2 instance. Now what I'll do is, so what's the scenario right now, guys? We have an EC2 instance in US East 1E, and it has two EBS volumes attached to it. One is the root volume itself. Okay, the root volume is where our operating system is installed. And we have created an additional volume. It's a general purpose SSD, 100 gig storage capacity. And then we created that volume and attached to our EC2 instance. And now our EC2 instance has two hard disks pretty much. Okay. Now, when you create a new volume and attach to an EC2 instance, it's in a block store format. It's not usable as is because you don't have a file system on it. If you want to create some files on that, if you want to mount it to your EC2 instance as a file system and then start creating the files, right? If you want to do that, if you want to do that, then you have to do a couple of things to make to make that usable. It is not usable. It's in a raw bytes format right now. It's like you bought a brand new hard disk and attach there. Okay, you will have to format it to something and create a file system out of it. That's what you need to do. Okay, so this is not for solutions architects. This is for sysops guys. Okay, for sysops people, this whatever we are going to do it in the next few minutes. Okay, it's mainly for sysops people, so it's not for you guys. So please don't worry about it. But I want to spend a few minutes and I wanted to show you that. This is just fun. Okay, if any of you are curious, not for the exam. Okay, I do a lot of things that are not related to the exam. So just for fun. So go to this article here. It's a documentation, AWS documentation. They have a very, very clear documentation. So what they're saying is, making an EBS volume available for use on Linux. You created a volume, you attached it to your Linux machine, to an EC2 instance. Now, how can I make that usable? How can I make that available? Okay, how can I create a file system on it? Okay, so let's go to, so what he's saying is first, let's list out all the block stores there. So there is a command called lsblk. List all the blocks. Now take a look at this one here, guys. XVDA. This XVDA1 is our primary. This is our root volume. And we created this XVDF. If you remember, just a few minutes back, let's go back to EC2 instance, running instances, the new one. Okay. So your XVD, yep. See this one here, guys? This is your EC2 instance, and go here. This is your root device. Your root device volume. What does it mean by root device? Again, this is where your operating system is installed. /dev/xvda, and your block devices, meaning you have an additional hard drives, and you have your dev SDF. Okay. So that's your device name. So you have two blocks here. Okay, this one and this one, and this is where your operating system is installed. This is an additional one that we just created, right? This is good. Now let's go to, now at this point, now what we want to do now is, there is no file system. There is no file system created on this one. It's in a block, a raw block format. Okay, let's go ahead and create it. So you can create this file system here using this command, file -f -s, and then you give your volume name. So, sorry, file -s. Okay, now it is actually file -s is telling you, oh, first you are actually inspecting it. Here you're asking, hey, what kind of, on this particular volume, okay, what is it out there? It is telling you it's in just data format, meaning it's in a raw bytes format. It's not, there is no file system on it. That is what it's telling you here. Okay, what kind of, does it have a file system on it? It's saying that it's in a raw data format. If the device has a file system, the command shows information about the file system. So it does not have the file system. That is why, see here, if the output shows simply data, as in the following example output, there is no file system on the device and you must create one. So it's not there. So let's go ahead and create one. So make file system, and this is the command. So let's go ahead and make the file system. Okay. And now let's go run the previous command. Now, earlier it said that, hey, I just have data, meaning it's a raw byte format. Now, after creating the file system, now it is saying that, yes, I have this kind of a file system here, as GIXFS file system data, right? So I have this much. So this is the file system you created it. Now what you want to do is, you have the file system on your new EBS volume. What you do is, you want to mount it so that you can start writing data. Now you have the file system. Now you want to mount it. Mount it meaning, when I write in that particular directory, it will go into that particular specific hard drive. That's all I'm saying. So I got a brand new hard drive, and I will give a name, like, let's say Z drive, right? Now Z/data, that means if I start writing, if I put a picture there, it will go into that hard drive. So now what we'll do is, let's create a folder here. Where am I right now? Okay, let's create, I'll create a folder here called data. Okay, I know I need to do it as sudo. So I created a folder called data. Now this data is what I'm going to mount it. So I created a folder here called /data. And then now I'm going to mount this xvdf to /data. What it means is, from here onwards, if I store a picture here in /data /nextstep.jpg, then it will go into this new mount. So let's mount this guy. That's it. Now let's go to /data. Now let's create a new file here, okay? vi index readme file, okay? readme.txt. This file is in my new EBS volume that I just created. I didn't do it as a sudo, so that's why it did not let me write it. Okay. Created. So what did I do here? In /data, I created a new file called readme.txt. It's telling me I'll do a cat command here, cat readme.txt. Okay, so these are the file contents. So this file readme.txt is there in /data, but /data is mounted to our newly created EBS volume, our new external hard drive. Make sense, guys? Now, does it make sense? Okay, that's all actually. Now let's go back. So let's recap what we just did. We created a new EC2 instance. As part of the new EC2 instance creation, a root volume will be created automatically. That's where your operating system is installed. In addition to the root volume, we created a brand new volume, brand new EBS volume. EBS volume is nothing but an external hard drive. It's a fixed size hard drive. It is not S3 though. These are two different types, guys. Object stored is different from block store. Okay, here you are taking a fixed 100 gig hard drive and attaching to an EC2 instance. Your S3, you don't worry about it. It's an infinitely scale. That's a object store. Okay, but in object store, you cannot install an operating system, or if you want to install, let's say, database, you can't do it in S3. That's just an object store. You can upload your pictures, videos, statements, your clients' receipts, all of that. And it's a very powerful, it exposes the most powerful REST APIs out there. Okay, that is different. Make sense, guys? So you created an additional EBS volume and attached it to the EC2 instance. And now you created a file system on it. And then you mounted it to a folder. Now you created a readme.txt file on that /data folder. That means it is on that newly created external hard drive. Does it make sense now? So now what I will do is I will go to this volume now. This is my volume, right? My volume in 1 East. I will go and then say detach this volume. This volume is there. This hard drive is there already. It's detached. Now let's do. So I'm detaching it now from this EC2 instance. Now, what happens if I create a brand new EC2 instance and then attach this volume? What happens?
It will still have that file.
Exactly, that file will still be there, right? So that's what will happen. And now, the additional point is, now this is, this whole hard drive is in US East 1E, right? Now, I want to move this to a different region. This is in Northern Virginia region. I want to move this to Ohio region, or maybe Singapore or Seoul or some other region. How can I do that? Because I'm creating a, EC2 instance. Okay, I have very important data here that's already created it, or I worked on the entire, my software stack has already been installed on it. It's nicely set up there. I don't want to redo it. And now I want to take a copy of that and attach multiple EC2 instances in a different region. Understand? So to do that, what you need to do is this volume, go to actions and create a snapshot. Take a picture of it. Somebody texting me. So okay. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to create a snapshot here. So I'll take a copy of my EBS volume. A snapshot is nothing but taking a picture of it. Whatever is out there, you're just making a copy of it and put it outside. Okay. When you take a snapshot, these snapshots are actually stored in S3. Okay. These snapshots are stored in S3. Now, this is my volume snapshot or something like that. So all of your work is there. Your readme.txt file is there, and then you are taking a copy of it and you're creating a snapshot there. So your volume is different and your snapshot is different. Okay, volume is like a hard disk, but now you're taking a copy of that and put it in S3. It will automatically do it for you. When you create a snapshot, it will automatically put it in S3. Now, since you have your snapshots, again, it is my volume snapshot. This is what we just created, right? This is also, now what you can do is, this is also in the same region, same Northern Virginia region. When you take a snapshot, it will be in the same Northern Virginia region. Now, what was my original goal, guys? My original goal is, I want to move my newly created EBS volume from one region to another region. How can I do that? So what you do is select this, actions, and then copy. Now, as part of copy, now you can select any region. Now let's move this guy to, let's say, let's go to Sydney region. And then let's create a description. So my volume copy, that's it. Okay. And if I want to encrypt this snapshot, I can even do that. And I'm putting it in Sydney region, right? So my snapshots will be created in Sydney region. Let's go to Sydney, Asia Pacific, Sydney. Okay. Let's go to volumes and snapshots here. Hey, my volume copy, this is getting created. Obviously, it takes a few minutes of time. Now, once you create once you have the snapshot, what do you do? What's your next step? Now, whatever you did on the other side, and now you have to do it reverse. Now you have your snapshot, you have your copy in S3 bucket somewhere. You don't know that, okay? I mean, EC2 will take care of that for you. Now, what do you want to do? You have to create a volume of that, okay? From that snapshot, you are creating a volume from that snapshot. And then, sure, you can select your AP Southeast 2A, and then you can select any availability zones, right? Now, from this snapshot, it created a volume. Now it created a hard disk here. Now, in this Sydney region, if you create an EC2 instance now, okay, you will get your root device volume anyway, but you can attach this one to that. But make sure that EC2 instance is sitting in the same availability zone, AP Southeast 2A. Make sure it is in that. In the same availability zone, because your EC2 instance and EBS volume must be in the same availability zone. So how can I copy it from one region to another region? So you will have to, from your volume, you have to create a snapshot and copy the snapshot into, as part of your copy, you can select any region out there. Okay, so copy the snapshot into another region. Now, from that snapshot in your destination region, create a new volume, and now that's attachable to any EC2 instance within the same availability zone. It's the same concepts now. Does it make sense?
Yeah, Venkat, when you say snapshot, okay, you created a snapshot, you created a copy, you created a volume out of it. You took a snapshot. Does the snapshot do multi-replication?
So when you take a snapshot, you are taking a copy of it, meaning you're taking a copy of it. Now, all the changes on the other side in Northern Virginia region, they will not go anywhere. It's just a point in time snapshot. You just took a picture at the time.
Okay.
You are taking a picture at the time. That's all. Snapshot is nothing but taking a picture at the time.
Okay, when you're doing that, does it copy the operating system as well?
No, operating system is in a root device volume, right?
It's only the data, okay.
Oh, no, understand, sorry, when you say that, it depends on where it is, right? Because in this case, it did not happen because we did not copy that root device volume.
Root device, yeah, I know.
But you can do the same exercise to the root device volume. Absolutely, you can. Does that make sense?
Hey, Venkat, quick question. Yes. So while copying the snapshot, right, can you copy it to two different zones, two different regions?
Can you copy it to multiple regions? Absolutely.
Yeah.
But you have to do, one at a time. So you go back to your, go ahead.
Yeah, that's what my question was. Can we do copy to two different regions at the same time?
At the same time, no, Revant, but you can see it's already copied there, right? Go to actions, now copy, no, the snapshots. This is my guy, actions, copy. No, you can't do multiple here, but you can select any of them, right? So okay, now you can make an additional copy into London. Okay, but my point to, I think, Vishal's question is, you can do it for the root device also. Take it. No, you have to take the snapshot. You have to take the snapshot first. So go to your volumes, and where is your root device volume? It's in 1 East E. Take a snapshot of that. It's the same thing. Okay, my root device volume snapshot, and then take a copy of that. And as part of your copy, you can move it to other region. Now, from that snapshot, create a volume and attach to your EC2 instance. Make sense?
Hey Venkat, I have one more question. So here, like, we have 100 gigabytes of volume, right? So let's say we are creating snapshots, but we haven't used the whole 100 gigabytes. I think we just created one file, probably 10K or 100K.
Yep, you're right.
So when we are creating snapshot, going to occupy the whole 100 GB?
It does not. No, it doesn't. It doesn't. Actually, let's go back to your what's that, Sydney region. No, it doesn't. And you have your snapshot copy, right? My volume copy. Actually, when you create I want to create an additional volume, right? Now you can select your size also. I can save 1 gig. The size of the volume can only be increased, not decreased. Oh, it's because let's go back. Okay. See this one? When you take a snapshot, I think I answered that wrong. Was it Revant? Was it Rajesh?
Kishore.
Kishore, sorry. It looks like I was wrong. See here, actually, when I take the snapshot has, even though you have it, the complete hard disk got moved as is. It's the complete 100 gig is there. So that's why when I'm trying to create a volume out of it, it's not letting me create, less than that. So I can go for bigger one because there is already 100 gig.
So can we see the size of the snapshot anywhere in the S3 that we store? Because they're going to build based on the amount of.
Excellent point. Yeah, it's here, right? See this one, the size of the snapshot here.
Then they will charge for 100 gig.
Exactly.
Like, less than that.
Yep.
Yeah, that answers my question. Thank you.
Yeah.
Having got one question. The extra EBS storage we are creating and attaching to EC2 instance, right? So basically root device having all OS related stuff, and the extra EBS volume we can store our own files related to our project or anything.
Right.
So, instead of EBS, just I'm asking cost effective way, like which one is the most cost effective way? Like instead of creating another EBS, if we create a S3 bucket and attach to our EC2, can we do it that way also, or the EBS is the option for us attached to EC2?
Let's talk about it, right? So it's critical. I'm glad you asked, actually. So it's critical to understand the difference between EBS and S3. So when you create an EC2 instance, let's say you have some documents out there. Okay, your EC2 instance is generating some documents out there. To store those documents, you don't need an EBS volume. You can safely upload them into S3. So when you do it in S3 bucket, your EC2 is not the only one who has access to it. Anyone with that REST endpoint, your S3 SDK or management console, everybody will have access to it, right? That's the beauty with S3. But here, only EC2 instance will have access to it. You can't get it. If you want to see your documents, unfortunately, you have to log in from EC2 instance and look at the documents. So, but this is a block store, that is an object store. Meaning you want to install Apache. Okay, you can install Apache here. You want to install, let's say, database. You can install database here. You can't do that on an object store. Does it make sense? So this one is directly attached to your computer, your computing, your EC2 itself.
Yeah, I got that point. Like running different softwares like HTTPD or something else, it should be in the block storage.
Exactly.
So you give an example like database. Like for database, we already have few services, right? They're not attached to EBS or S3. It will run on their own. So in this case, we are creating extra EBS volume for additional storage for our project.
Yep. So you are creating these additional EBS volumes for the block store. I want you to understand it. If your requirement is only the object store, just to store the documents for all practical purposes, you better store them in S3. So you have a scenario where you need to, in addition to your operating system, you want to install your operating system on a separate hard disk, which is a root device volume. And in addition to that, you need to install five pieces of software. You need to install Apache, you need to install Tomcat, you need to install, let's say, the log shipper, like something like Splunk, and a couple of other softwares. Okay, and you need 500 gig of a hard disk there. How do you do that? Can you use S3 for any of that?
Yeah, installing software, we need to use EBS, but other purpose, we can use S3. Right?
Absolutely. That's why understand the object store versus block store. Okay. Make sense? And whatever you attached, whatever the software or documents that you stored in EBS volume, they are not available by any other means. Only EC2 will have access to it. I want you to understand that one also. Okay.
No,
So go ahead.
Venkat,
Yeah,
as an architect, okay, let's think from the architect perspective.
sure.
You created it, you took a snapshot of it, but I'm trying to understand the purpose of taking a snapshot and putting in a different zone. Okay, how means how is it feasible for an organization, or how is it feasible from a
Okay.
technical friend if you're thinking it's an additional cost, which is not making any sense for me to put something in a different zone until and unless I have a usage of it.
Yep, I'm with you. Let's talk about it, right? So you have, this is a very practical example in my scenario. It happened. Okay, so we have two data centers. One is in US East, the other one is in US West. Okay, so it's one of the biggest automotive companies. I was architecting that scenario. Okay, so for that, the use case, the way we had to architect was it. In the case of disaster recovery, we need to have our disaster recovery center in a different region. So we have one in Virginia, the other one in Oregon. So we have about 90 servers here, and we have the exact same replica in Oregon also. So in case of disaster, we have to be able to flip from Virginia to Oregon within 5 minutes. That was SLA. Okay, so we created all of this. So we have a couple of EC2 instances. That's where, go ahead.
No. I was trying to say, go ahead. Sorry.
So the point is, so we have EC2 instance here, and we have it's a little complicated architecture. We have some Cloud Foundry stuff, and we have some plain vanilla EC2 instances with Apache, Tomcat, and several more. Okay, log shipper. We were using something like Elk Stack. Okay, all of this was copied here, right? Now, how can I copy all of this one? Do I want to do this from scratch again on the other side of the world in my other data center? No. But so I have my EBS volume. I'll take a snapshot of it. I will move it to the other side, create an EBS volume, and attach to my EC2 instance. I just got it. On the other side, just built it. Piece of cake, unscripted. Probably in 2 hours, I have my entire data center. My West data center is ready. Does that make sense? Did I answer your question?
You did, but I asked the same question, right? You're taking a snapshot, you're not replicating it. So how is it a disaster recovery that you have architect? So you have to ensure that every day you take a snapshot and try to put it over there.
There are two different things. One second. Sorry, there are two different things. What I said was, it's for the code. It's for the code. So first time, all of my
first time I
my software, one second, my piece of softwares, my Apache, Tomcat, everything that's installed on the EBS volume, I'll take a snapshot, move it to the other side, and create servers. Okay, now I have the replica. Now every single deployment, every single release, I will deploy to both the data centers, East and West, every single time. So my code is in sync. Now you're talking about the data. The data is a different deal. You have to have your database replication through some other means. There are some strategies out there called Data Guard or Golden Gate for Oracle databases. So data replication is different. We are not talking about that. I'm talking about the EBS here. Does it make sense?
It does, but I can extend the discussion, but we can take it offline.
Yep, let's take it offline. It's
I understand.
Yep. So make sense, guys?
Venkat, one more question. So let's say I'm working on a project and I spun up the 100 gigs EBS storage. So at the end of the project, I realized that I am not using more than 30 gigs. So now I want to put this snapshot in a different regions. I don't want to pay for this extra space that I am not using. So since we can't reduce the existing size, so is there any way that I can copy these files into a lower storage?
Okay, so that's an excellent question actually. So let's this is a 100 gig volume, right? This is my if I'm not wrong. Oh, these are snapshots. Sorry. Let's go back to volumes. And this is my 100 gig. And then actions, modify volume. And then, so the way we want to do it is, I went to the original volume here, actions, modify volume. Because not after taking the snapshot, now change it back to 1 gig. The size of the volume can only be increased. So it's always, so I can increase the volume, but I can't decrease the volume because it's done that way. So how can I copy it? No, it doesn't let me.
Why can't we copy this volume, create a new volume by 30 gigs, delete this volume?
Can you repeat that?
Why don't we go to the volumes, create a new volume with only 30 gigs, copy the data.
Let's see. So we have a snapshot here, right? Now from the snapshot, let's try to create a volume, but I don't think it will.
We can because you cannot.
It doesn't let you. Yeah.
I'm not talking about the snapshot. I'm asking to create a separate volume of 30 gigs.
Okay.
Copy the data that you have in the 100 gigs into that 30 gigs. As you already have a snapshot of your volume money, delete that volume, use the 30 gigs, create a snapshot. That's a long process.
It's a long process, but is there a better way? I will answer that. Okay, I can take that as an action item. I'll answer that. But I like your thought process. So what he's saying is create an additional volume. Okay, create a volume here. Let's say. Sorry, US East 1E.
Only 30 gigs.
Yep. So I want to give only 1 gig because somebody asked, right? My readme.txt is only so much. So okay, my 1 gig, right? So my volume 2 in 1E, right? So something like that. So what you are saying is attach the same guy, attach both of them to EC2, okay? And then copy the data from here to here because you know that it has less data, and then delete this guy and then take a copy of that, right? So take a snapshot of it, move to the other side of the world, and then maybe that's the only one, but I can take it and then see if
no, can we do the snapshot of it, or can we just move the content using the Linux commands from one volume to other volume?
Can I use
my question is how do we move this data from this volume to other volume?
Oh, right. So how do we move it? You have to attach both of them.
Yeah.
You have to attach both of them to an EC2 instance and use your copy command within there.
Okay, got it.
Because these are two separate hard disks, right? You can't do anything.
Okay.
So attach both of them to an EC2 instance, and then copy it or do an rsync or something like that, and then one of the Linux utilities, and then copy it, and then detach the big guy. Keep the first guy and then go from there. Okay, fun stuff. That's pretty good. Very good discussion. Thank you so much for the excellent questions, excellent discussion.
Venkat, you created a volume based on the snapshot, and you haven't attached that volume to any EC2. So, is there any way you can access the data?
No, there is no way. There is no way. EBS volumes are only meant for EC2 instances, period. Okay. And in fact, EBS volume is one of the ways that your volumes get attached to EC2. There is another way, there is another one called instant store. Instant store based EC2 instances and EBS based EC2 instances. There are two types of EC2 instances. when it comes to hard disks. One is called instant store. In the case of instant store, there is no way you can separate out your hard disk from your compute. Compute and hard disk are physically attached to the same physical hardware. That is called instance store. But the EBS, the beauty of the EBS volume is that you can create a new EBS volumes and attach to your EC2 instance. They are separable. Okay, your compute and your hard disk, they must be in the same availability zone, but they're separable. But in the case of instant store, they're inseparable. And also, when you stop your EC2 instance, all the data on the instant store gets lost. So then why do we use it? What are the use cases for instant store? Is mainly for caching, in-memory caching. If you want to use, something, if you want to store something in RAM, and once you stop the instance, all the data is gone. Temporary storage. Okay, any of the temporary storage solutions, you can go for instant store. So there are two kinds of EC2 instances out there. Instant store backed EC2 instances and EBS backed EC2 instance. Okay, so I believe that's all about it. It's why did I cover to this detail is because it's important for the exam. Mainly two important points for the exam is one, your EBS volume must be in the same availability zone as your EC2 instance, the most important critical point. And number two, I have an EBS volume. It's a very popular exam question. I have an EBS volume in one region. How can I copy it to the other side? Create a snapshot from there, copy as part of the copy the snapshot to another region, and then from the snapshot to create an EBS volume and attach back to another EC2 instance on the other side of the in the other region. So those are the two important points, and you must expect that kind of questions in the exam. Okay. If we don't have any questions, I think I'll stop it at this point on this topic. Okay. Let me actually stop the recording.